Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to provide an update on my recent ministerial visits to Australia for the Seasonal Workers Program and to New Zealand for the recognized Seasonal Employer Scheme that took place from the 4th to the 18th of February this year. Madam Speaker, Fiji has been participating in both the Australian and New Zealand seasonal work schemes from 2015 after we signed agreements with our New Zealand and Australian counterparts, the relevant government agencies in Australia and New Zealand. Since joining these schemes, we have sent a total of 1,060 workers to Australia and New Zealand from 2015 to February 2018. 600 workers were deployed to New Zealand and 460 workers were deployed to Australia. 116 have been female workers, while 944 have been male workers. Our revised recruitment and selection criteria focuses on recruitment of isolated rural communities for seasonal work. The criteria was revised to address the issues of workers running away from their workplace when they reach the time to return home. Some of the other reasons that have prompted this change of focusing on the population in general and sort of limiting it more to those in rural maritime areas is because we want to help arrest urban drift. And if people are living in rural and maritime areas, participating in these seasonal work programs allows them to access income that they can take back and develop their own lives, start small business and so forth in the rural areas in which they live. And we also know that many in rural areas do not have much access to work opportunities, so this is a great advantage for them. Secondly, by recruiting in the rural areas, we are recruiting people who are more familiar with the type of hard physical work that is required in the farms in Australia and New Zealand. And it has allowed us to hone in and improve the screening of the recruits into the seasonal work program by members of their own community who know them best. We currently have around 33 employers employing Fijians under both the Australian and New Zealand scheme. And from this number, 12 employers are from Australia and 20 employers are from New Zealand. The scheme in both countries and our recruitment is growing, and we will continue to work on increasing the number of workers recruited from Fiji. In fact, last week, we sent the largest single number of workers to be recruited at one time. 82 workers left for New Zealand last week. We will pursue collaborative work with our counterparts to ensure increased awareness of our workers and increasing work opportunities for our workers to be able to return to Fiji and build up their families, communities, and the nation. Some of the objectives of my visit to Australia and New Zealand, Madam Speaker. First, for the seasonal workers, my purpose was to see how our seasonal workers are doing in terms of their work and welfare, and to hear from them the issues that they want addressed. I also took the opportunity to remind them about their roles and responsibilities, to focus on their work, to focus on their goals and the milestones that they want to achieve whilst they are in Australia and New Zealand, and also when they return back with the money that they do bring back with them. With my Australian counterparts and counterparts also in the government in New Zealand, we focus on the mutual benefit for Fiji and Australia and New Zealand that we have from this particular scheme, and we also discuss how we can optimize the benefits for seasonal workers by reducing the different costs that they have to pay while they are in Australia and New Zealand. Some of these costs include accommodation costs, the cost of remitting money back to Fiji, looking at ways of optimizing their earnings, and encouraging also ways in which they can get benefits beyond just financial earnings. New mindsets, training, new skills, new competencies, and so forth. These are some of the additional benefits they get by working in Australia and New Zealand. We have had good discussions on terms and conditions of work, new market access for our workers, and also some discussions on the work holiday visa opportunities. And we have also proposed the idea of having a liaison officer in Australia to work with our seasonal workers there. With employers, our focus was on learning about their perception of the Fijian worker, understanding their needs, and also seeking to increase the recruitment of our workers from Fiji in working in these countries. Madam Speaker, under the Australian program, a Fijian worker works for a minimum of 3 months and a maximum of 6 months and returns home before the end of the 6-month program. The minimum hours a week per work that an employer provides is 30 hours. And the minimum wage is Australian $22.82 per hour. It is possible in Australia that people could be paid less than this amount if they are being paid on a piece rate basis. People, however, could be paid at more than double the minimum wage rate if they are very productive, as we found at the Acres Kumala farm in North Queensland, where people are getting double the hourly rate. Most of this work is paid on industrial piece rate systems, depending on the product of fruits such as strawberries and blueberries, sweet potatoes, grapes, apples, kiwi fruit and oranges. In a piece rate situation, the more you achieve, the more that you get. One major challenge that has been faced by our workers there is the influence from our Fijian diaspora who have become Australian citizens. Advice given by some of our diaspora to seasonal workers has been incorrect, resulting in our workers being misled to break their employment contracts and get into unnecessary trouble, which then affects the reputation of Fiji and Fiji's workers that go across for the seasonal work program. To address the challenge, I am looking at the appointment cap in New Zealand will grow slowly, but in Australia there's no limits. There's also a greater scope in which our people can work. In New Zealand it's limited to horticulture and viticulture. However, in Australia the range of types of jobs in which people can go and work on is much broader. We have a number of people that are working in the hospitality sector in Australia at the moment. There are win-win opportunities for the horticulture and viticulture and agricultural sectors in Australia and New Zealand. Because in these sectors, in these countries, they do not have access to a ready labor supply. A lot of people in these countries do not want to work on farms. So having this seasonal worker program where people from the Pacific come and work in those countries means that they have a ready labor supply, then the farms are willing to invest more into their farms. And as you go around in Australia and New Zealand, you can see the massive investments in new land that is being bought under cultivation, the new packing houses and so forth. And they can only make that kind of investment when they have the assurance of an assured labor supply. So it's certainly a win-win situation for Australia and New Zealand, and a win situation for the people that we have in the Pacific. So the Australian and New Zealand industries win by having that assured labor force, and our people win by having the opportunity to earn money to improve their lives. Our systems for selecting and screening people to enter our work-ready pools is proving to be a success, and this has been the feedback that has been given to us back in Australia and New Zealand. Currently, just as an aside, Madam Speaker, currently most workers going for seasonal work, I just had a look at the stat this morning, we're having the highest number coming from Zakonrabe. Number 2, Madhuata. Number 3, Mba. 4th is Televu and Ra, equal numbers. And 5th, Lomeviti, and then Nanrongai Nawasa. The rest of us are. Now, unfortunately, is towards the end, but we will try to get as many people as possible to make use of these opportunities. Nanrongai, number 6. Labour mobility opportunities. Madam Speaker, labour mobility opportunities will continue to rise as demographic structures change. A lot of the countries that we are targeting have a very old structure in terms of their population, and there will be more opportunities created in areas like caregiving and so forth. And in the National Employment Centre, we will see how we can maximize to those opportunities so that more of our people can be developed and trained to take up those opportunities. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you.